Count on us.
I spoke to one who could barely even talk after she says she screamed so long for help. The suspected shooter is being held on a $2 million bond. Despite high winds and thick brush, firefighters say only about 15 acres burned thanks to their quick response. Again, fire officials have confirmed at least 7 homes have been destroyed in the Mountain Village Estates neighborhood. As of today, Dyer's retrial is rescheduled for October. Here says in this particular crime, one witness was able to tell police everything they saw. They've detained several persons of interest, including a woman who's admitted to stabbing the victim. Court manager Barbara McNally says the announcement comes to no surprise to those who follow the industry, much less to their own employees. For now, Tuesday's shooting has in fact not been ruled as an incident that was fueled by gang activity. Investigators believe it was just a coincidence. They say nothing from today's fire. Nearly 48 hours after a Lawton woman was found shot and killed inside of her own home, police still remain on scene and crime tape still surrounds her house. Why investigators say they want to make sure nothing inside is disturbed. I'm Sylvia Corkill. I'll have the details up next. Police are investigating Lawton's 15th homicide after a young mother was found shot and killed in this apartment complex. 4 generations headed to the polls today to cast their ballots. One of them, though, still too young to vote. The Lawton Fire Marshal's office is investigating a possible arson that caused nearly $80,000 in damage that left one man dead and his girlfriend injured after they were shot in their own home. McKinney says with every small job, he becomes better prepared for the big ones. While the program does advocate face-to-face breakups for most relationships, proponents stress that an abusive relationship should be ended remotely. After nearly 3 years in court, 2 mistrials and a manhunt, jury members spent less than 4 hours determining the fate of Charles Dyer.
Guilty verdict.
Guilty. Guilty.
And guilty is exactly what the mother of the little girl and grandparents said they had hoped for all along.
Closure, move on with our lives, and she don't ever have to get on the stand again, look at his face, talk about it. Anything. She gets to be a little girl now.
We're just going to try to raise her as the little girl she is, the way she's supposed to be. She's a little tomboy. She's always been Papa's little girl, so it's always been really close to my heart, you know.
But after 2 mistrials, it was a verdict that even Stevens County District Attorney Jason Hicks says he wasn't sure anyone would hear.
Well, you always feel nervous when your case is in front of a jury because you just don't know exactly what 12 people are going to do.
Stevens County Sheriff Wayne McKinney says he was also uncertain of how this trial would end.
Clear the hall, folks.
After he says Dyer often diverted the focus of the trial.
His position was that everyone was, that the federal government had this conspiracy because he was a part of a militia. My department was after him for whatever reason. That law enforcement in general, the district attorney's office was after him. We didn't just pick Charles Dyer out of all the people that live in Stevens County and decide to file charges on him. This came from a report of a sexual abuse to a small child. When it was investigated, the evidence was pointing to him, and he was arrested for it, and now he's had his day in court.
Even though a guilty verdict was something several people hoped to hear, others, including Dyer, were left with little to say.
Charles, do you have a comment? Anything you want to say?
I was sitting in the front row when the verdict was read and looked at Dyer, and he had his head down, very, very passive.
And while family members and supporters of the victim say they are happy with the verdict, they say they also feel for the family of the person they hate most.
It's a heartbreak for the other family. Even though we believe he's guilty, it is a heartbreak for that family.
Yeah.
They've lost a son now.
Yeah.
And we're not here to gloat. That's not what that's about.
One by one, all of them in handcuffs. The suspects trekked in to be booked, and it was early before sunrise.
So a lot of them are still in their night clothes when we gave them the wake-up call this morning.
Needless to say, these guys weren't happy about their arrests or our cameras.
Hope you're having fun, man. News here, too?
But Stevens County District Attorney Jason Hicks
Let's go get them.
says these suspected drug dealers only have themselves to blame.
These arrests are not simple possession arrests. They are distribution arrests.
There was one surprise arrest, this man Stephen Gandy, a Duncan bail bondsman.
He was bonding out of jail were some of the very people that he was supplying the methamphetamine to.
And Hicks says that should come as no surprise to anyone.
You know, it runs the gamut from the top of the economic ladder all the way down to the bottom, and we've arrested everybody.
Though they may come from several different walks of life, officials say one thing today's arrestees have in common is the way they've been affected by drugs.
Yeah, I've seen people come through our jail that is on meth, and it's a heartbreaking sight to see what would be a beautiful lady that's on meth, what it's done to her body and doing to her life.
They'll fight with officers, they'll fight with others, they lose weight, they pretty much lose their minds.
Officials say they have no choice but to crack down on anyone caught using or selling drugs.
As soon as we get these folks off the streets, there will be more that take their place.
And they'll be ready.
Everybody can take notice that we're going to be out looking for them.
I have zero sympathy for them and zero tolerance for the drug problem that we see not only in our county but throughout the state of Oklahoma. It's a terrible epidemic right now.
Officials say this drug raid focused on the sale of methamphetamine, a drug that's had a resurgence in popularity in Oklahoma. For 7 News, I'm Sylvia Corkill. One by one,
I just feel that he's being done wrong.
supporters
Because I think Ronnie Smith is the finest chief of police we've ever had in Lawton.
came in by the droves throughout the day.
When they came to work this morning at 8 o'clock, there was already people waiting to get in to sign it.
Dr. Louis Reyna
When I read the article, I said, whoa, 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 whoa.
not only came to sign Smith's petition,
Thank you for starting.
Hey, I appreciate it.
but to also get copies to place in his own office.
After all these years of service, for one incident, even if there's a question as to how proper his behavior was in regards to this event, you just cannot throw away everything else that he has done and throw him out. I think that if there was any impropriety, that should be dealt with, but certainly not. I don't think it warrants the degree of punishment has been rendered upon him.
Hodges, Reyna, and other supporters hope the stack of signatures and Facebook page
And the name of the Facebook page is Bring Chief Ronnie Smith Back to Lawton.
will speak to the city.
If they are voted in by the city and by the citizens, I would think that they would have to take that into consideration.
I think they should take the whole man and his career as a whole and put this business at hand in perspective. It seems to me that it hasn't been.
I want to be part of getting him back on that police force.
Count on us. This is 7 News in HD.